Fitness Movement is brought to you by Zor Fitness. We offer coaching and individualized program design, as well as educational content for coaches and athletes. It's all one place, zorfitness.com. Yeah, so I started tracking macros and paying much closer attention to nutrition.
Gasp.
Yeah, when did I start? In the spring?
May.
May.
The beginning of May.
And I told you that I would try not to be the worst client.
Actually, you said, I'm not going to be the worst, but I'm probably not going to be the best. Words.
I think that might be accurate.
Yeah, words that I thought were pretty funny coming from you.
It was truthful.
Yeah. And what made you want to start tracking?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like I was leaving a little performance on the table just from like a body composition standpoint and just overall fueling. Like I figured I could probably eat a little bit more or maybe even, eat a little bit more and stay a little bit leaner, which is like two things that seem like they wouldn't go together, but if you can get them to go together, then obviously that'll have like performance benefits. Like if you can put more in your body and your body weight doesn't change, you're probably going to perform better.
Yeah, for sure. And reverse diets don't always work for everybody. And there's a time and place for them. When you're already consistent-ish with food, working out a ton and have other goals, then it's like a slow transition where we slowly add food, see what happens on the scale, and then add more food, see what happens. So it's just like add a little weight, add a little weight, add a little weight. So, yeah.
And I guess maybe that's a little different from someone who's trying to lose weight and the fact that like at a certain point, you're not going to keep taking stuff away.
Right.
Is that fair?
Yeah. I mean, you can only cut someone so low before they're just malnourished. Like you can't really achieve much even on a huge deficit. It's not really good. So,
yeah. So it's more like mild deficit and then just be really consistent with it.
Yeah. It's consistency over time for sure. I mean, you don't want to cut somebody back like 800 calories and put them in a huge deficit where they feel drained and they're going to lose weight quick, but they're going to be starving, end up binging and sort of have a reverse effect.
Yeah. I think that's also the case for people who are trying to gain weight, like where if you try to be too aggressive with it, you're just going to get fat.
Yeah. And it becomes, you know how much you're eating now.
Yeah.
If I had immediately given you 500 carbs from what you were eating, you would have been like, oh my God, like there's no way I can eat all this food.
Yeah.
And I think for females especially, it can be really tough. I think guys are like, yeah, give me all the food. But like for girls, when you put them on a reverse diet, if they do have the goal to gain weight or gain muscle, it's like mentally 20 carbs a week is like, it's not even 100 calories. So mentally for them, like if it's slower, then it's easier to understand. So what were you doing before? Were you just sort of like intuitively eating like, okay, I'm going to have 4 ounces of chicken with every meal?
Yeah. I would say I generally tried to eat a good amount of volume, just like try to eat a lot, but without tracking. So it was kind of like, that's probably one of the biggest things that I've noticed has been different is that like, if you're like, oh, I'm just trying to eat a lot, you can do that. But then there'll be times like for me, I was like often on like the weekend, like, Saturday afternoon or, Sunday morning or something where I would just like not eat nearly as much as I would on a normal, like typical training day. And then it was like, I didn't even think about it, but it was almost like a break for the system. Yeah. And not that is always bad, but if you're being really regimented about trying to put on size and strength, then it's like that does matter. So it's like, I don't know. 'Cause like, it's not like my body weight was like fluctuating like crazy or that like body comp was way off. Like I was still pretty lean. I like always have been. And, like, so it was like, wasn't like my performance was terrible either. It was just like, I felt like I knew that if I cleaned it up a little bit, I would have performance benefits from it. And then also like, for me, it's like, well, I don't plan to compete lifelong. So it's like, in the time that I am giving to this, I want to do it the best I can. And sure. Being more professional with my approach means that I have to be more professional. And that's one more way to do it. It's just to start being more aware of what you put in your body.
Yeah, for sure. Did anything surprise you when you started tracking?
I think the biggest thing that surprised me was just like that, like I felt like I ate a lot on a normal basis. And then now that especially as the numbers kept going up, as I wasn't gaining weight, I was like, man, this is a lot. And it's every single day.
Yeah.
And it for a while, as I was increasing, it really felt like a chore to get there.
Yeah.
And now I'm kind of used to it, but
the carbs mostly,
mainly carbs. Yeah. I mean, there would be times where I was just low across the board, but carbs have been
fat. You were never low on fat.
Never low on fat. Yeah. So, yeah.
It's so fun to put people on reverse diets when you know it's going to work, because it's like the reaction to, well, you got to eat more carbs. What? Got to eat more carbs. What?
Yeah.
It's so fun for me.
Yeah. I mean, again, like generally, as long as, and this is the other thing, is like we're trying to keep my sugar down, reasonably down.
Trying.
Yeah. I mean, down maybe what I would just, if I was just to eat, I don't want to say whatever I wanted, but more relaxed, I would just end up getting a lot more sugar. And it's not even from just, it's not like I'm eating like candy. It's like, a lot of fruit, or even like milk has a good bit of sugar in it. So like little things like that, if you have, 2-3 cups of milk throughout the day and like fruit at every meal, it's going to add up pretty quick. So it's being aware of like you trying to put as much carbs in as you can, but like not just trying to do it where it's gonna like, mess up your, I don't want to say mess up your metabolism, because that has like a bunch of negative connotations.
Well, and you're not just putting whatever on your plate to hit your carbs.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And like, I guess my point being, like, if you just had like a boatload of sugar, it's going to have a negative impact on other systems, like inflammation and things, where it's like, if you get carbs generally more, you're going to feel better, as long as they're not just like straight sugar. I guess that's what the caveat I was trying to make.
Where do you get most of your carbs from?
Like bread, pasta.
Bread. All the bread. Gas station bread.
I've eaten a lot of bread. Yeah. Oh, that's a great story. So I was coaching gym in Alabama, and I had the worst motel you could possibly get for like the cheapest price, because I was traveling by myself. I was like, without my family, I just can't justify.
I know, but why would you do that? Like stay in a crappy hotel? That I just can't. I can't.
Well, I probably won't do it again.
Lesson learned.
Yeah. But I guess it was what I should have expected it. But that has nothing to do with what I was going to say. But anyway, I didn't have a car either, so I was like just walking around. It was like, a little over a mile from the venue to my motel, and it was Alabama, so it was hot. It was like in August, September. Anyway, again, not related to the story, but anyway, I had no food when I got back to the hotel at like the end of the first day, and I was like, logged my food, and I was at like 300 grams of carbs, and I was like, okay, what am I going to do here? So I walked to the nearest gas station and just bought a thing of bread, and I came back.
Did you sit on your bed and eat it?
Yeah, pretty much.
With nothing on it? Just ate slices of bread?
I just ate slices of bread. And it was, I had like one. I was like, oh, this does not taste very good. I checked the expiration date on the bag. The bag is like covered in dust and stuff from the sketchy gas station.
Oh, God.
So I literally had to check, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll eat one more piece and just call it there. And then I was like, maybe just 2 more. I was like, okay, I'm already at 4. What's 2 more? And then I was like, well, if I have 2 more, I'm probably at my quota for carbs. So I had like 8 slices of
half
bread.
A loaf of bread.
Just straight bread. That was super yummy. So delicious.
I mean, travel does make it tough, especially if you don't have a kitchen in your hotel.
It does. And that's maybe a whole nother topic for another day. But
But you made it work. You made it work, right? In
Yeah.
the end, so.
And I guess maybe that's a good takeaway for people listening is like, it's gonna be work. Like it's gonna be work to not only log your numbers and to be accurate with things, but then it's also work to communicate with a coach about it. It's also work to, just sometimes like just quite literally like eat all the food that you need to for some people.
Yeah. And, and to be honest with it too, like, I know there were times when you sent me stuff and you're like, man, I'm way under this or I'm way over that. And unless you actually log it, I mean, I have people sometimes get this mindset, well, it's all or nothing. Like, I'm not going to hit my carbs, so I'm not going to even try.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to log because I know I'm not going to hit anything. So it's like, unless you actually log it and see how far away you were, how close you were, it's hard to even really know. So it keeps you honest for sure.
Yeah. And that was another great example of that was like, when I was traveling, I was gone for like 5 days or whatever. I was like, normally I would have been like, you know what, I'll try to stop in and get like good meals each time of the day, but that'd be sort of it. And I would just sort of like, okay, that was, I'll try to eat decent, right? And that'd be sort of the extent of what I would have thought about it. Where I was like, this time I was like, man, I know I'm gonna be under on protein, probably just gonna be like tough, and it's hard to pack carbs, so it's easy to pack like protein powder when you travel. So it was like, okay, I took like 4 bags of that along,
and you even said you ran out, right?
And I ran out in like 2 days,
yeah,
to try to get to my number. So like my last couple of days I was much lower on protein, and it was just like, and like over on fat every day, just because like you're eating out a lot. But it was like it would have been really easy to previously just like been like, all right, this is good enough, and just kind of move on, and knowing that like I'm tracking. Like this time when I went, I was tracking and I was paying much closer attention to like what I was choosing to eat on a daily basis. And then also like doing things like having protein powder or getting gas station bread to like try to fill in the gaps a little bit. Like I still didn't make it there, but I was way closer than I would have been if I didn't do that.
Sure. Would you have packed protein powder if you weren't tracking?
No.
You would have just went.
Just would have went.
Right.
Yep. So again, there's a lot of things like that. And it goes the same way for training too. Like people... They think like, oh man, like this session is going to take 90 minutes to get through, at least 90 minutes to 2 hours. I only have 1 hour to train. So it's like, I'll just skip it. Like that's so easy to do. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's the days where you do that. That's like, those are the most important days for keeping you going.
Yeah. And on those days you have to stay really focused and say, okay, instead of 5 sets, maybe I only have time for 4. I'm going to set the clock. So I stay every minute on the minute or every 2 minutes. I'm not going to look at my phone. I'm going to make sure I get through because this is the amount of time that I have. And same thing with food. Like you gotta use what you have to work with.
I think that's also super common for like people when they get injured. Again, not related to nutrition here, but like it's so easy. Like, oh man, my shoulder's been kind of funny. I'll just take the next 3 days as rest days because motivation's low because I just don't feel great. It's like, okay, well, you could have been communicating with your coach and gotten an adjusted plan and, been working on, even if it's like really basic rehab exercises and things. Like just because you're back from where you wanted to be doesn't mean that like you should just throw it all out.
Right.
And I think it's like the same thing with nutrition. Like people are like, oh man, like I'm either going to be over on this number, under on this number. So, screw it. I already had the cookie. I might as well have the other 6. You know?
I see it all the time. Or I'm going to this restaurant tonight and I don't know what I'm going to order. So I can't log in. I can't log my whole day. Yeah. Or I'll just I'll have a whole pizza. So I don't know what they have. But yeah, it's like, if I can't log dinner, then I'm not going to log anything. It's so crazy. Like it doesn't have to be all or nothing.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah. Trying to think about what other things were kind of eye-opening for me, because this is really the first time for me that I guess maybe helpful background for people. Like this is the first time that I've tracked consistently over the long term.
Really?
Yeah, like maybe 2 weeks here, 2 weeks there.
Yeah,
just to kind of like calibrate and see where I'm at.
Yeah.
And then just try to continue to eat similar to that moving forward for a little bit. Depending, like usually it was like college wrestling, like trying to shed a few pounds going into the season. So just make sure I want to stay under this number or whatever. Pretty basic things. But yeah, never over the long term.
Were you worried about eating more?
No,
I
was not.
Yeah. Most guys aren't.
Yeah. And like generally, like for me, like I've always been weak relative to my competitive field. So you want to get stronger, it's only going to help if you put on a couple extra pounds, even if you get slightly fluffy doing it. It's like not the end of the world. So
That's right.
yeah. The interesting thing was like when we first started, I forget what I was at, like 400, 190, 100 or something. And then it was like I was losing weight fairly quickly.
Yeah, and I think
wild.
I think that was the first increase I made was 400, and then you weren't. The scale was like slowly like going back in the wrong direction. Yeah. I'm like,
I still felt really good.
This guy's gonna get to like 500 carbs.
And then it was like 425.
Yeah, 450, 475. Yeah.
Yep. So, I guess if someone's in like, what do you call it, reverse diet? Then it's like, that's like the easiest way. It's just kind of give it to them for a while, see where they're at. If they're not moving in the right direction, just up it a little bit.
Yeah. And mostly carbs, sometimes protein. We increased yours for sure.
Not much.
It wasn't a ton, but it was a little bit.
Maybe 10.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just a slow process for some people. Other people, it's like you just move them along.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was kind of humorous in a way, though, because I just kept getting leaner and lighter.
What a jerk.
Yeah.
Eating all this food, losing weight.
Yeah.
A lot of times that's how it goes. Like you feed your metabolism and then it speeds up. Then you feed it and it speeds up. It's a cool process. It's fun to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. There's some other changes I made. Like I would often have like Gatorade in my sessions, and that was just like, sugar. That was like simple sugar.
I was like, wait, where's all this sugar coming from?
Like, yeah, probably Gatorade powder.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, again, it's like in a session, so it's not maybe the end of the world.
Well, and someone like you.
And I am performance oriented, so it's a little bit
who
different
trains multiple times a day, and, you have the timing down. It's not like you're, sitting on the couch pounding gummy bears. Like you're using your carbs. So it's different. That's what people don't always understand. Like, it's how you're using your carbs and where you're putting them at in your day and the type of carbs. So that's why I'm not like always super concerned when I see your sugar number because I know where it's coming from, but.
Yeah, but at the same time, like I am somebody who deals with inflammation and joint issues sometimes. Yeah. So it's like, it's only going to be helpful if I generally eat a little bit less sugar than if I just, again, was more laissez-faire, whatever I want to do sort of thing. You got any like advice for people who are reverse dieting to like mentality wise or like best ways to hit numbers?
Mentality wise, you just have to remember what your goal is. I had gone on a pretty aggressive one years ago. I actually just started one a couple weeks ago for myself, but I was up to 500 carbs when I was powerlifting.
I can't imagine.
It was insane. We would go to Sam's Club and get the huge bags of rice, throw them in the car. Cause I was eating. All I did was eat. And I was terrified. I'm like, I don't know if I should be eating this. This is crazy. Like, this is a lot of food for me. I'm a girl. I shouldn't weigh this much. Like, you just have to remember what your goal is. And seeing the scale go up sometimes is, it's hard to see, especially for females. So just remember what your goal is and keep that in the forefront of your mind and realize that you're eating for performance and not aesthetics anymore. So, there's a difference.
Yeah. And also like as someone if you're a CrossFit athlete doing that, it can be like, even if you're someone who like is pretty in tune with the fact that like, okay, if like my goals are this and I want to get stronger, put on some size, like this is what's necessary. It can still like freak you out sometimes. It's like, even as like a guy who's maybe not as like worried about my aesthetics, it's like, it's easy to, I was like, oh man, like ring muscle ups. I just kind of felt heavy and sluggish today or something. Right. And it's like, it just kind of sits with you wrong for a second.
It does.
And then you have to kind of like reassure yourself.
Yeah, you're like, can I not do a set of 10 because I'm a pound heavier? It's probably not why.
Yeah.
Like you have the strength and the skill to do it. It's just probably chalk it up to a bad day and not a little bit of extra weight.
Yeah. And it's also possible that you are a little bit heavier and it is a little bit harder. But,
yeah, for sure.
But it's a trade-off and you have to be willing to make that, I guess.
Yeah, you do.
So I think no different than anything else. Like there's going to be times if you're trying to gain weight that it's going to feel like a real chore, that you're not making as much progress as quickly as you want. And you just need to stay the course.
Yeah.
And there's other times where for people who are losing weight, it's the same thing. It's like, I'm doing all the right things and the pounds aren't just coming off as quickly as I'd like them to. And it's like, sometimes you just need to be patient and give it a little bit more time than you thought it would take.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I had made a post recently, like both goals take time, like losing weight, losing 10 pounds and gaining 10 pounds the right way.
Yeah.
They both take time.
Mm-hmm.
So you just have to be patient and just trust the process either way.
Yeah. And like you, especially with nutrition, I guess maybe for training as well. It's like, it's almost like you don't want to, I don't want to say you don't want to see results really quickly, but fast results are probably not great results.
Right.
Like it's not actually what you want if they come really quickly.
Right.
Like if you put 50 pounds in your back squat in like 3 months, that could be great, but also you might deal with all kinds of stuff because of that.
Yeah.
Not that people deal with that issue all the time, but like people do that all the time with like weight loss in particular. It's like they drop, 10 pounds in a month or more, 30 pounds in a month, right? And it's like, if you did that,
it's probably some muscle.
Bye muscle.
Yeah, it's probably some muscle, and it's not, it wasn't really your end result or your end goal to begin with. It's not healthy. It's not sustainable. It's going to all come back and probably then some. But
not the muscle mass. That'll stay away for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, maybe we'll do another one sometime and give you a little update about things. But yeah, for now, it's been work, but it's also definitely had benefit for me. Yeah. So I think like most things that you do to try to improve your fitness, improve your health, it is work, but it's also necessary and rewarding if you do it correctly.
Yeah, it's always worth it.
If you want to be super handsome and fit and strong and cut and what are some other good keywords?
I want to be handsome.
Just like me here. Then you can reach out to Miss Stacey and she can coach you.
I'm your girl.
Yeah, Macros by Miles, your company.
Yeah.
Check you out. Yeah. Stacey CrossFits. It's not your handle anymore, but
it's not
still
me
call
anymore.
you that.
Well, it's okay. Still me.
Well, sweet. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening today. If you're someone who just started listening to the show, I would encourage you to subscribe so you can stay up to date. If you're someone who's been listening for a while, I would encourage you to rate and review the show. And lastly, the best thing that you can do to support our work is also the best thing that you can do for your performance. And that is by hiring one of our coaches. Until next time, stay the course.